Hi everybody and welcome back to the channel. So today I wanted to talk about mastering self-control because if you really think about it, if anyone, right? If anyone is able to master self-control, it really does make a huge difference in your life. Just think about all the things that you've probably done and maybe a minute after you did it, 5 minutes, an hour, a day, whatever, when you had some time to actually think about whatever it is that actually happened, when you could reflect on it and you were, somewhat moved past the situation, you kind of come to realize, well, why did I do that in the first place? Why did I say what I said? Or why did I send the message that I sent? Why did I do the things that I did? Because you realize it's pointless. So I want to talk about mastering self-control and just how important it can be in terms of not just changing your life, but making sure that you don't end up in certain types of situations because guess what? It's just not good for you. Situations that are not healthy for you. All right. So if you could think of a time just when maybe you got into an argument with someone, or someone initiated the argument, and they started to tell you things that were perhaps really hurtful, and they're trying to say things to get under your skin, and you're thinking, why is this person, saying what they're saying or whatever the case is, and then you respond by doing what? Most people are going to respond by trying to get down to that person's level. They're going to try to say things in return that obviously, they're going to be trying to hurt them as well because they feel hurt. And when you put somebody on the defensive, a lot of times they're going to turn around and try to say things to hurt you also. But then you walk away from the situation, as I was saying a little bit earlier, you walk away from that situation an hour after, a day after, and you realize, why did I even get into an argument with this person? It really wasn't worth my time. Like, why did I invest the energy, all right, in having this back and forth, this kind of tit for tat, getting in that type of situation with someone who, I mean, why did I even bother? And sometimes even kind of, disgrace yourself, put yourself in a situation where you now have to be embarrassed because of some of the things you did or some of the things that you said, right? And I don't, I think a lot of times when we look back, I know I've been there where, you get into a situation with someone and you say some things and you fire back words at them because they're firing words at you. And then you walk away and you realize, geez, what did I do? Why did I allow myself to get into this type of situation? You know, I had a professor as a mentor, and I remember, I got into some kind of argument with someone at one point in time, and then he said to me, you've got to pick your battles. You've got to be really mindful of what battle do you want to really get into? What wars do you want to fight? Because you realize that some of them are not worth your time, and some of the people that you're actually getting into confrontation with, they're not worth your time at all. They're just trying to get a rise out of you, and if you realize that you're better than that, then you don't engage in that kind of confrontation with them. Self-control, right? So think about money. Just think about money and self-control, and if you had self-control, maybe how much more money you would have, how you would be less dependent on the next paycheck, but you're looking forward to it, but it's not like you're absolutely so dependent on it. But think about that. Think about how we spend money on an impulse. A lot of times, our purchases and the things that we purchase are just like it's impulse buying. It's impulse buying, all right? And that's why advertisers love to put certain things in our face in certain types of ways. It's impulse buying. Why do you think certain things are right at the checkout line when you're about to leave the grocery store or any store, whether it's Walmart or Target or whatever the case is, right? Why do you think certain things are right there as you're waiting? There's certain purchases, not always expensive, but certain purchases that they know people are more likely to just pick up one or two of these. Impulse buying, right? Which is why it's always best to show up with a grocery list or whatever, and then even then some people go with a list and they come up with 15 more things that they didn't even intend because it's impulse buying. So if we can control our impulses, right? And focus on what we need, the things that we need to do financially that will fit into our budgets, that will then help us achieve our goals, then we're least likely to go after the things we want and succumb to our impulses. But that takes discipline, right? It takes discipline. So, how do you master self control? I think the number one thing is to focus on your needs and not your wants. That's one way you master self control and you become more control of who you are. It's to focus on the things that you need and not the things that you want, right? It makes a huge difference, especially when it comes to money and spending habits. That makes a huge difference. The other thing to me is, how important is it that I do something right now? In other words, give yourself the opportunity to actually think about something before you do it, before you respond, before you engage. Give yourself the opportunity, because as in the first example I provided, if you were to just respond in an argument with someone right away because they're saying something, you're probably likely to say things that you're probably going to regret, right? Or you might walk away and say, well, I really shouldn't have said it, but I already said it already. But all that does is just bring you down to a level that you don't want to be. So my thing is always, another way to improve on mastering your self-control is to give yourself time to make decisions, whether it's responding to someone or whatever the case is. And the more distance you put between the person and the thing, right? The more distance you put between you and the person or you and the thing, whether it's something you want to buy or whether it's someone saying something, then the better it is for you. The more distance you put between, the better it is for you. Why? Because you're giving yourself an opportunity to think rationally, to be able to make a more rational and logical approach towards a decision that you have to make, right? Which is why I think some people end up in tricky situations, because they're too quick to react to certain types of things. It could be an email, how, depending on an email, how fast do you need to respond to it? And do you want to really think about what you say? There's situations, there have been times when I've gotten, emails in different types of situations, whether it's business or professional, and I see it, but I don't respond immediately. I think, how do I want to respond to this? Because I'm like that. I think about those types of situations. How do I want to respond to this? Right? What is the correct tone I want to? Because it's not something that requires my immediate response. And so I give it time. The more time you give between, once it's not a life and death situation, right? Obviously, then you need to make a decision. But the more time you put between you and something that immediately comes to your desk, so to speak, right? The better it is that you're going to be able to make a more informed, logical, and rational decision. And that is how you help to master self control. You have to practice it. Tell yourself, I don't need to respond to this person right away. And then when a couple hours goes by or a day or two go by, you realize you don't need to respond to them at all, because they're not worth your time. They're not worth you actually investing the energy into giving them some sort of response. In the case of money, right? Remember that. It's not, do you need to buy this right away? If you don't need to buy it right away, then you don't need to then you don't need to make that purchase right now. It's not a life or debt purchase. So you give yourself some time to really think about it, and you realize, I don't really want to buy this after all. In so many areas of our lives, so many areas, relationships, and, personal, professional, whatever, if we just practice self-control, if we practice this whole idea of, I don't need to make a decision right now, so I'm not going to, give yourself time to think about stuff, to acquire knowledge that you might need to be able to make the decision that you need to make. Practice that kind of patience. Sometimes, I've had a couple of folks that would say to me, and usually like friends or family, people that really know me would say, yeah, I'm not going to engage in certain types of things with you. I'm just not going to give you the energy. All right, I'm just not going to put forward that type of energy, because it's not that I believe I am better, but as I always say, I believe I'm better without some people. Not that I'm better than them, but I'm better without some people in my life. And that means if I feel like I am better, then I'm not going to, better than having you in my life, I'm not going to engage and give whatever negativity that you're trying to send my way. I'm not going to give it energy, because when I respond, it gets energy. And when energy is coming from both sides, the situation begins to rise, and you're really giving it the kind of momentum that it needs to become something that you probably don't even want to get involved in. And so when you give yourself time to let them say what they want to say, you perhaps don't need to respond. So give yourself space, remove yourself from a situation and think about it, right? Is it life and death? No, then perhaps you don't need to respond to it. So that's what I want to just talk about today, this whole idea of self-control. Try to put that into practice. So, in the comments, I would encourage, all of you to leave your tips, how you think that we could become better at controlling our emotions and that type of stuff. What tips do you have, right? And don't forget to subscribe as well. Please, please, please. Share the videos and hit the like button. It does help the channel to grow. And I look forward to your comments. You could also follow me on Instagram as well. And take care. Be good. Until the next time, peace.